It's time for GrizzBeat, a full-court press of highlights, insights, news, and scoops covering the Grizzlies and the NBA. Catch up each week on the latest Grizz buzz with regional and national insiders locked in on our squad. Running point from Grind City Media Studios, our host, Jarvis Greer.
Everybody, hope you had a good holiday season. GrizzBeat is back right now as we get ready to head into the Christmas portion of the NBA basketball that we love so well. It's played right here at 191 Beale Street, FedEx Forum. The Grizz, though, took the L last night. We're going to talk about that real quick with our illustrious panel of guests. We've got Avery Braxton here from ABC 24, and Avery just got all lined up real good.
I did, just for you, Jarvis. I knew I was coming on your show, man. You got to come in. You got to be clean when you come on Jarvis Greer's show. So,
well, you got the earring all polished up, everything. Did a little bit with the fuzz down there.
It's something like that.
Something like that. We'll get into it really good with you. And as always, we've got the guru of Grind City Media himself, the great Michael Wallace, who just, boy, your arm's tired. You just flew back from Dallas. You got to be feeling kind of low after that one. Didn't quite work out like the Grizz wanted.
Nah, it didn't, man. It was a tough flight coming back from that game. You know, it was a tough fourth quarter. But we'll get into all of that, man. And you know what? There's another game tomorrow, right? So you can jump right back into it and, shake that off and then move ahead, man. So I'm always looking forward to another great show. You know,
that's one thing about the NBA. You say it's one of 82. You got so many games. But when you look at that game last night, the Grizzlies at the Dallas Mavericks, it was a playoff atmosphere in the American Airlines Center there in Dallas. Of course, it was an Emirates Cup game, and the floor is all painted up pretty and all that. But more than that, it seemed like these two teams knew that, hey, look, this could be a battle in the postseason later in the year.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the way the Grizzlies have gone about taking on the Dallas Mavericks, we've seen some battles, especially with Luka Doncic and what he's done specifically to the Grizzlies. Those guys want to beat the Mavericks. I don't think there's any doubt about it. They got embarrassed a couple of times last season as well. So, especially with Ja and Jaren and all those guys back healthy, Dez is back healthy, they wanted that win. And, yeah, last night, really disappointing because you were holding on, you held on to the lead pretty much most of that game, and then to kind of give it away there at the end. Slow grind. Fourth quarter, giving it away at the end was disappointing.
Yeah, that was one of the plays there that was really tough, giving up that three at the end after Marcus Smart got hit in the basically nosebleed there, and he kind of like got disoriented, left Spencer Dinwiddie open. He hits another three, and that was the game. Grizz lose 121-116. And, just to talk about that game, the Grizzlies were coming off a 6-game winning streak. Dallas had won 7 of 8, I believe. And the way that both those teams were playing in that game, it was like, okay, I'm going to hit you, and you hit back. I'll take it. Oh, that was a gut put. But I get up off the deck, and I'm coming right. That was a good back-and-forth game last night.
It was, and I really felt like, man, as I was calling that game with Eric Hasseltine on 92.9 ESPN Radio, I was sitting there, and we were talking, and I was like, man, this feels like a 4-5 matchup in the first round of the playoffs right
easily.
now. I could easily see that, right? These teams are regionally close. It's a short flight. They're familiar with each other. Their trajectory is right about the same. And, if you're the Grizzlies and you look at the Western Conference standings right now, you don't really fear Houston. They hadn't done anything yet. Oklahoma City still has to prove they can do it in the playoffs. But it's the teams that are right around you and right behind you that you've had some struggles with. So the way that this season is playing out, it's going to look like that, and you got to win some of those kind of games. That was a tough game. They proved they belonged on the court with Dallas on the road. They had everything going for them that they needed, and then they just couldn't close the door at the end of it. So that's what made it tough last night, was to see the foul calls, the offense bogged down, and some other issues that the Grizzlies just couldn't overcome at an inopportune time.
Yeah, and, let's just get into the weeds a little bit. The Grizzlies had a chance to win that game, up 15 in the fourth quarter. It was almost like they were running a hurry-up offense, though. They kept coming down and shooting threes that didn't go in. And then the turnovers and, the foul disparity, you can, I hate to – well, I usually do like to blame it on the refs, but I hate to blame it on because the Grizz were fouling. But you wish there was a little bit more
equity,
that's the word.
Yeah, 44 foul shots to 14 foul shots certainly does not scream equity. I think what we heard from the Grizzlies players, though, was you can't put the game in the hands of the refs, and they were fouling. Like, you look at some of those plays, you're like, what are they doing? And it felt almost like an AAU game to me, back in the day, because it just kind of felt like the other team just creeps their way back in, just being aggressive. And they're at the foul line, the clock stops.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you're looking up, it's like, okay, well, it was 15. Okay, now it's 9. Okay, now it's 6. And then here we come. We get the starters back in the game at that point. The stars back in, but
they were up 8 with 3.5 minutes. So
but
plenty enough time to get it done.
When you give a team the bonus at 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, you're asking for trouble. Especially when you got guys like Kyrie and Luka Doncic who know how to get to the rim. Derek Lively was playing well at the rim again. He's been kind of a thorn for the Grizzlies. It was tough to watch because it felt like you were watching it in slow motion, literally. Because the fourth quarter was 42 minutes long in real time. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, the ridiculous thing about it was, the Grizz would come down, they'd either jack up a shot or get a turnover, or sometimes they go to the hole, not get a call, and you could count on Dallas getting at least 2 points next time down because you get a tweet. Every time anything happened, they'd go to the line. 26-3 was the disparity in the fourth quarter. Grizzlies were 3 for 3 in the line. Now, Dallas tried to help Memphis. They did miss a few free throws there. But, what I took from that game is, okay, you can play with these guys. It's not, unfamiliar territory here, and it's not rarefied air. Both these teams are now 14-8. So they're going to battle as the season goes along. And the Grizzlies still aren't full strength yet. They still don't know what they are because, you've played some with Zach Edey in and out of the lineup. G.G. Jackson has yet to see the floor. And Vince Williams, once he gets healthy, if he comes back like the Vince Williams that we all hope he can be that guy and, get some mentoring from Marcus Smart or whatever. And Marcus did have a tough game last night, but, that's the Marcus Smart experience. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. But, during that winning streak, Marcus Smart was getting it done. So every now and then, every player is going to have a game that they wish they could just, take a drink, spit it out, and go on to the next one. Even I believe the great Michael Wallace at Grambling, even at point guard, might have had a turnover or two, huh?
Hey, listen, man, never at that height of a level, right? At the level we saw last night. And, again, it's one thing for us to process it. And as you said, you look at that disparity, right? Because I knew, as we were calling the game, I knew right before the game ended, when I looked at the free throw disparity, I said that's the first thing that everyone's going to go to, right? That is true. But I also looked at the foul called disparity, and it was much less. It was 29-23. For much of that game, the Grizzlies were called for fewer fouls, making fewer fouls than Dallas was. And then in the fourth quarter, it just flipped. Dallas was the more aggressive team. I think they executed better. They were smarter. They were more poised. They showed the difference between a team that's trying to get to the next level and a team that just got to the Western Conference Finals.
They were in the finals
last year. So I think what was important was how the players processed that. And Taylor Jenkins talked about it along with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Marcus Smart after the game. Take a listen.
I don't think it's about, what they did last year or anything like that. I think it's a quality opponent, and we know this is going to be a tough test. And I thought, outside of the first quarter where Luka was on fire, we did a lot of great things. Got to a 3-point game at halftime. We take the lead. We take a double-digit lead, and then it just became a foul fest in the fourth quarter. Some things that we can correct, but as I said, I don't understand the disparity in the fourth quarter in an NBA Cup game for sure. And then they hit some threes late in a tight ball game, and we've got a better offensive execution, and that all starts with me.
Yeah, that's it. Just finish. Getting back to our pace. Our pace was a little bit slow this game. And every time we were able to get in the paint, we got good looks. We just got to continue to do more of that and finish the game. We're kind of out there playing not to lose instead of just playing to win, and that's what happened.
There definitely was plays where you could have looked at the silver lining, looked at different ways it was called, and thought a bunch of stuff. But at the end of the day, we were still up late in the game, so it's okay.
Return to that point, being up late in the game on the road against a tough team like this, are these still learning lessons that you guys can take?
No, it's just not. We just can't let that happen. It's not really like a growing pains thing at this point. We just can't let it happen. Rebounding is on me, and late shots are on me as well. There's just things I could have done to help us. So I'm definitely owning this one, but we just gotta be better.
It's one thing. Jaren did put a lot on his shoulders. He was only 5 of 14 in the game, and Derek Lively basically outplayed him down the stretch. And Lively is, he's a lively body down there, and Jaren had it going for so long. But you can't take away anything from the stretch that the Grizzlies were on going into that game, having won 6 straight with the way that they had played, and everybody eats, everybody getting some. Jaren, doing his thing down low and knocking down threes. Unfortunately, hit threes early, but they just didn't fall late for him.
Yeah, and that's the nature of being a team, and really this is the entire NBA, but the Grizzlies in particular, a team that does shoot the 3 ball. If you live by the 3, sometimes you're going to die by the 3, and sometimes the shots just they dry up. And that's what kind of happened in that fourth quarter. I think what the Mavericks really did was they slowed the game down so much, they bogged it down so much, but that's what happens, like to your point, in a playoff game.
Right.
And so I think we saw that a little bit. I think the Grizzlies definitely missed Zach Edey last night. They needed that extra big body that could bang in the paint. For some of those rebounds. And to Jaren's point, and really to Smart's point as well, is you can't give the game away.
No.
And that's really what it felt like the Grizzlies did, was they kind of gave it away, and they didn't hold their composure, didn't hold their poise. Not that they panicked, but you can't allow, I wouldn't say the refs to take the game out of their hands, but you can't put yourself in a position up 15 to come back and allow a team like that to get back in a rhythm and even be in the conversation for the game at all.
Well, what I look at that like, and I think you would agree, Michael, that was a learning experience game. Okay, all right, we took a punch. We saw what you got. We're not totally full strength yet, are the Grizzlies, but we see that when you get in that situation late in fourth quarters, how you have to let the game – you don't have to rush the game, and I think the Grizz rushed the game a little bit last night.
They did, and it wasn't like Dallas played great either. They had 25 turnovers there, and they gave up 27 points off those 25 turnovers. They missed how many free throws? They missed a ton of free throws, at least 11 free throws from what I'm looking at right here. I mean, they missed 14 free throws.
14, yeah.
You know what I mean? 25 turnovers, missed 14 free throws.
That should win you a game.
That should win you a game, the way that team was playing. And you didn't get much from Kyrie, and you didn't get anything from Clay, right? So you kind of held those guys in check for the most part. And it was a Luka Doncic show and a Derek Lively show, and then they had some tough shots that went down in the fourth quarter. But as we said, and as I asked those guys in the locker room afterwards, what can you take away from this? Because that's what's most important. And as we talk about it later on in the show and later on this week, this is one of 2 games you're going to play against teams that were in NBA Finals. You say you want to be in the Finals, now you're going to see how far you've come against these teams that are right there.
Yeah, I think they showed well, and I think they showed really well in the streak leading up to it, the way that they had won the 6 games and basically blowing out. You can call them inferior competition if you want. The Pacers were a good team, and they pretty much had their way with them in the game, but they did what they were supposed to do leading up to this game. And somebody who really has done what they were supposed to do, or maybe wasn't expected to do, is Jaylen Wells, somebody who Michael Wallace said would be the 3-point leader on this team. And all Jaylen Wells has done is become the Western Conference Rookie of the Month, and that's a misnomer because it's actually for the first 2 months of the season, for October and November. Look at these averages: 12.2 points per game, 3.3 rebounds. He's shooting 39.4% on his three-pointers. That's a rookie, and he ain't scared taking those threes either. He missed one in the game last night. They went right back to him, knocked it down. Top 5 among all rookies in scoring, starts, and field goal percentage and minutes, and he was the 39th overall selection in the second round of the draft. Jaylen Wells, another King Kleiman find. Zach Kleiman doing the deal, finding these guys in the second round of the draft. And you see the highlights here. He comes out, he's not worried about anything. And also, he's a two-way player, which really surprised me. As a rookie, I didn't think that he would be as tough defensively as he's showing to be.
His defense is the reason he's on the floor as much as he is right now, especially being in the starting lineup. His ability to come in. I mean, he was guarding Luka Doncic last night, and he's been getting those type of assignments really all season. Now Luka's Luka. He's going to do what he does, and he had a great game last night. And Jaylen's he's gonna take some punches, but he's done way above expectation on both ends of the floor. And really for him to, and he said it himself, to learn from guys like a Marcus Smart, I think has really paid off in the early parts of the season. But yeah, no fear at all. And I think that's probably the biggest part and the biggest stat that you said there, Jarvis, 39th pick in the draft. You're not supposed to be the Western Conference Rookie of the Month in your second month.
Yeah.
At the
first
39th
time
pick
the
in the
award
draft.
is given out in
Right.
the season, right?
Your name is on it.
Exactly.
That will forever be.
Yeah, there were 38 guys that got picked before you. 38 guys that got picked before you, and you've outperformed all 38 of those guys in the Western Conference for the most part. And, for Jaylen Wells to be able to get the kind of trust that he has from his teammates and his coaching staff, that says a lot. But when you go into the locker room afterwards, and you're there all the time too, right?
Right.
Like, this guy is one of the most professional guys in that locker room. He comes out and he says, hey, are you guys ready for me? Like, I'm ready to talk now, you know, and I know you guys have deadlines and all that.
Oh, yeah.
He gets it, man. And,
Kind of him.
And I've said this before. I've been covering this league for decades now, man, and I've come across rookies every single year throughout the league, and I don't think I found one or have seen one as poised, like ready, physically ready, mentally ready, gifted and poised as Jaylen Wells is. And what you're seeing right now is him showing that, hey, no matter where I was going to go in the draft, I was going to be ready. And this was an opportunity that he took advantage of.
You know, one thing I really like about Jaylen Wells is not the fact that, he's shooting threes. And, Michael, you called it. I mean, he's at 39.4%. He's got a pure stroke out there. Ja Morant, I mentioned it earlier, passing the ball in the corner for a three. He missed it.
Yeah.
Got the ball back. Ja went right back to him. Hey, buddy, you're open. I'm expecting you to hit it. They have the confidence in him to let him be himself and do the things that he can do. And also with that, he's not just a guy, a 3-and-D guy. He's not standing in the corner. He can go into the paint, put the ball on the floor, get there. That turnaround fade that he had, that was a big boy shot that he hit. Okay, I'm down here. What do I? He didn't panic. He kept his head. That's one thing my wife had. I get all my basketball knowledge from my wife. She's a former Catholic high player that took her team to the district finals. And, she said that, look, this guy, as I said, he ain't scared, man. He come out there, and he looks like he's 12 years old. You know, he just has that look like, hi guys, I'm here.
And you know what? The beautiful thing, Jarvis, is that this is a place. The Grizzlies have been an organization that nurtures these kind of guys.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We saw this happen with Gigi last year. Once he got his chance, he got a chance to continue to show what he can do. Now, you're looking later this month, Gigi be working his way back into the rotation. We saw this, in previous seasons where rookies have come in. Desmond Bane got a chance early as the last pick in the first round. Santi Aldama got opportunities throughout his career. And if you go even further back than that, what this Jaylen Wells experience reminds me of is what I saw when I first got here full time. Was the year later, Dylan Brooks came in, and he was overlooked. He was the 45th pick in the draft. Came out, and he came into this situation. Chandler Parsons got hurt early. David Fizdale gave the keys to Dylan Brooks early.
Man, he's dropping those names now.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, and he said, you know what? I'm gonna put this man in here. I'm gonna put him against all of the top perimeter defenders. I remember a game specifically against Portland, out in Portland, where Dylan Brooks defended C.J. McCollum on the final possession and got a stop, and the Grizzlies preserved that win. And ever since that moment, then Dylan became Dylan the villain, right?
Dylan the villain.
He knew what he was able to do.
Right.
Wells is a far more efficient offensive player than Dylan was, and is to this day. But I see the same opportunities that he's benefiting from, and I think the future is so bright for Jaylen Wells.
Well, I think he's a thinking player, too. He thinks the game.
Yeah.
He's not just out there playing. He thinks the game. You saw in the video a couple of the passes he's made in the post. Now, sometimes I think with this offense that the Grizz run, they're still trying to say, okay, do we make this pocket pass?
Yeah.
Do we kick it out, or do we just go ahead and take the mid-range? And I think they're all learning that. But he's right up there with the veterans, the guys that have been doing this and been doing it together for a while.
Well, the offense almost plays to the advantage of some of these guys because everybody has to be able to play with the ball in their hands. You have to be comfortable catching the ball, driving to the basket, making a decision in the paint. Everybody's doing that. Jaylen Wells doing it, Ja's doing it, Dez is doing it. Everybody has to be comfortable having the ball in their hands and making quick decisions and being smart about it. And because he's had the opportunity to do this early on, it's only going to work for them to their favor when it comes to the playoffs. Because you're going to get some of these guys back, a Vince Williams Jr., a Gigi Jackson. The rotation's going to be scary at some point. But Jaylen Wells is going to be is in a position right now to learn quickly. And because he's been so confident and so composed, he's getting opportunities that a lot of rookies are not getting around the league. And for him to be top 5 in all those categories just says, hey, I'm taking all this information, I'm soaking it in, I'm applying it, and it's working in the Grizzlies' favor. And that's why you've got guys like Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., who have so much confidence in him, giving him the ball in tough situations. And then, I repeat this, guarding the best player on the other side of the floor. It's been really impressive.
Last thing I'll say this on Jaylen Wells, it kind of reminds me of Pau Gasol his first year here. Pau was a rookie, he was going to play. So it wasn't like, no, he was going to play. And he got his butt kicked a lot down in the post because they thought, this is the skinny European, the Spanish kid. And I remember seeing him at Brooklyn. He got abused under the goal, and he almost cried on one play because he didn't get a call. But he got up, dusted himself off, and kept coming back. And I saw, you almost saw that look with Jaylen Wells last night when Luka did one of his fakes and then got a foul on him on a play. And he said, like, what? He buckled up, tied his shoelaces, and went right back there after him. I think that says so much about the individual as much as it says about, the Grizzlies organization and drafting him and putting him in that position, and now he's blossoming as a guy that's going to have a really bright future no matter who comes back.
How do you learn how to swim? How do you learn how to swim?
Oh, yeah.
Pops threw me in the deep end,
Yep.
right? I'm floundering. I'm floundering. Dad, save me.
You're either going to swim or you're
not. But
not.
you're either going to learn how to swim or you're not.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is he's swimming right now.
That's right. And somebody else who's swimming down in the G League, we got to mention this, Cam Spencer. Wow, what a game for the rookie from national champion UConn. 51 points in a game. Somehow that's not a record for the Hustle, but 51 points. He had 12 three-pointers, 12 out of 15 from three. Look at that, 80% from the free throw line, 75% field goal percentage, and amazing. And this dude, he was coming down just jacking them. Yeah. It was like, I'm shooting it. I don't care who's down low. It's going up, and it's going down. John Roser, who works also here at Grind City Media, had some of the calls on the game, and he was just flipping out of his mind. And I saw the highlights of the game, and you saw him too. I mean, goodness gracious, that was a shooting exhibition.
That's the other second-round pick
right,
for the Grizzlies in this game. And, as you can see, man, he had no conscience in this game in terms of once he was able to fire it up. And I talked to Taylor Jenkins. This game was played on Monday night. The Grizzlies had already arrived in Dallas, and so they were consuming this game on social media as well. Mm-hmm. And the next day at shoot-around, that's all everyone in Dallas was talking about was what Cam did in South Haven.
Right.
So when you have that kind of confidence, and one of the things that stood out, he's not happy because he's making shots. He's happy because they're impacting winning.
Right.
And as a national champion at UConn, all he wants to do is win. All he wants to do is take advantage of these opportunities. And he's excited to be on the court no matter where it is. And I think that showed in that game.
Yeah, he's gotten in a couple of appearances on the two-way with the big club up here in Memphis. And you can see that he's the kind of guy that whatever's going on, he's going to be in the middle of it. Yeah. It's not just he's just standing out there shooting threes. No, he'll drive. He'll get his hands on balls. He goes after loose balls. He'll stick his nose in anywhere and everywhere.
And I think the thing is he's going to take advantage of this time with the Hustle because he's a great player, because he's a guy who is disciplined and a hard worker. But I think there is precedent, especially with the Memphis Hustle, that is not a demotion of any kind. No. They use that as a real developmental tool in ways that other organizations do not, for guys to really get a chance to be up with the big club. Mm-hmm. And I think we've seen that in a couple of instances. And, we've seen John Morant and some of those guys come down to South Haven to watch those games, which is not something that every team does. Right. And so for Cam Spencer, to your point, he's happy to be back on the floor. Had that ankle injury that held him out the first couple of months of the season. I'm happy to see him doing so well because he's going to be another one of those pieces. God forbid, we're knocking on wood, no more injuries, but he's going to come in, and when he gets his opportunity, he's going to be ready to play.
That's funny. Somebody on Twitter was saying, get that boy a first-class ticket to Dallas right now. The way he
needed him last night in the fourth quarter.
Probably could have used him.
One other thing I wanted to add to your point, Avery, you made a good point, that how the Grizzlies use that G League system and their developmental system. Mm-hmm. Zach Edey got assigned to the G League today to go through practice as he works his way back to returning from that ankle injury. And it's a good sign because the expectation or the target is that he might be available this coming weekend after missing the last 2 weeks with the ankle injury. So that's one way that they've used this system for both rookies, the one that was picked number 9 overall and the one that came in the late in the second round as well, too.
It's a grooming ground, not a proving ground. They're getting their guys ready. The band will be all together at some point. You mentioned coming up, the week coming up for the Grizzlies, got a big game coming up here. The Sacramento Kings come to town. They got the 6-time NBA All-Star DeMar DeRozan, who I will always think of him as being a Chicago Bull. I just can't help it. He was there for so long. He came in December. The Kings did, having lost 6 of 7. They fell out of the West top 10, and this was a team that was picked to be up there among the best teams. But the Kings and Grizzlies, they split the last 10 in the series, but the Kings have won 4 straight, and De'Aaron Fox is a bad boy. He's still averaging 27 points a game. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Grizz, no matter what you say, because of De'Aaron Fox right there. He is one of the great and quickest players in the league at the guard spot.
That and Domantas Sabonis.
Oh, yeah, I can't forget about him.
Double
Sabonis has
machine.
been
20 rebound
He
machine.
has been the thorn in the Grizzlies' side in this matchup. I mean, De'Aaron Fox is fantastic. He's been really good, but Sabonis, with the way he's played, something about him matching up with Grizzlies bigs has been a bit of an issue.
Well,
So,
that's where hopefully, we said that Zach Edey's working out with
Give
the
me a big
hustle.
man. Put him
Maybe
back in
he'll be
there.
Maybe he'll down there. We'll see what he can do with old Domantas Sabonis. But right now, hey, we got a really special feature on GrizzBeat that we're starting today. You're lucky that you'll have a chance to see it. CJ, you got something going on, right? Tell us about this new feature.
Damn right I do, Jarvis. It's time for the Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week. I'm going to get music for you guys next week. Remember, and by remember, I mean this is my first time doing it, so if you don't know what you shouldn't know, we've got a way for you to submit questions to a mailbag on the Grind City Media app. Download it wherever you get your apps. So get in there, send us your questions, and if your question gets selected, we will read it off on air, and you will receive a $5 gift card to Sonic, where you can get my personal favorite, the chili cheese coney, the foot-long coney. This week's winner, Edward Hayes.
Hey.
Shout out to Edward. Clap it up for him. Good job.
Hi,
This
Edward.
is his question. What is your rotation with everyone healthy? Are you going with a 9-man rotation or an 11-man rotation? Edward, enjoy that Sonic's gift card. Jarvis, back to you.
9-man rotation, 11-man rotation. I say now, play as many as you can play as the season goes along, as we're in the regular season. They'll trim it back as you get to the playoffs, but hey, when they all come back, play them all. Get them all out there, let them eat, and then you can find out who and where works best in what situations when you do trim it down when you get to the postseason. Avery.
Yeah, I agree. I think for right now, play as many guys as you can, especially because so many guys are playing well. It's not like anybody you're sticking out there is a sore thumb. So I think you play as many guys as you can, especially once Gigi and Vince come back. See what combinations work, and see what lineups work. And then as you get into March, you get into April, then you start paring it down. I think a really successful team in the playoffs is probably more of a 9-man rotation, in my opinion. But play them all right now.
Yeah, I agree. So let's do this, because it's easy to look at it and say 9 or 11, right? But when we start adding names to it, it becomes a little more
who
difficult.
you sniffing?
John Moran is playing,
Yep,
right?
right.
Desmond Bane is playing.
That's correct.
Jaren Jackson is playing.
That's 3.
Clark's playing.
Brandon Clark's playing.
DC's going to bounce.
Jaylen Wells,
He's going to play.
he's going to play. Santi is playing.
Santi's going to play. Santi's had a great year this year so far.
Marcus Smart's going to play.
And most probably,
Luke Kennard is going to play.
yes.
Zach Edey is going to play.
Zach's going to play, yes.
Vince Williams Jr. is going to play.
Yes. That's 10.
That's 10.
We got 10 right now.
That's 10. Okay, now,
I got to take my shoes and socks off for the rest of this year.
Gigi or Scotty, one of those two. Okay. I mean,
I don't know.
You're at 11. You're
You're
at
at
11.
11 there.
Like, who do you? And then we didn't mention Jake LaRavia, who might be the most improved player on the roster right now, from last year to now.
Well, that is your dilemma
Then
when
you're
you
talking
look
about
at it
12.
like that.
And so at a certain point, you're not going to be able to play 11 and 12 consistently. You're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to get back down to 9, 8, somewhere around there. And when you get closer to meaningful games towards the end of the season and going into the playoffs, John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, if they're healthy at that point, they're going to have to be in the 30s, not the 20s. But I do applaud the stick-to-itiveness of Taylor Jenkins in this front office for making sure all of these guys limit the minutes as much as possible at this stage of the season,
Yeah.
keep them healthy, and then go into the latter part of the season and pair your rotation.
And for
down.
anybody that's like, belly aching about minutes, Luka played 40, Ja played 31. Ja was very effective in his 31 minutes. As we all know, Ja likes to get everybody else involved early. Sometimes he comes out and takes over from the jump, but he was ready to go as the game got heated. And we saw what he could do. He had 31 points and basically 20 in the
efficient.
I
It's the
wanna
most
say he had
efficient
five-
season.
He had 5 points in the first half. Something
Well,
like
Yeah,
that.
only
he
5 in
didn't
the
take a
first
shot
half.
in the first quarter.
Right.
Right. So
He
he
was
kind
getting
of deferred
everybody
in the
else
first
involved.
quarter. He deferred in the first quarter.
You make your money in the postseason. You make your money in May and June.
Yeah.
You're not making the money now.
These rotation decisions now are made in a vacuum to make sure that they have a chance later on down the line.
And it's not hurting you because
it's
you're
not.
still up there. You're still in a spot
You're
in
still
the league.
producing. You're still
you're
producing.
producing, and
Yeah.
you're in the standings. You're still in a good spot. And as we get ready to stand down right now, we're going to take our first break here on GrizzBeat. But when we come back, we're going to take you around the NBA. Some interesting thoughts from one Shaquille O'Neal that you want to hear about. That's coming up after the break.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
We didn't talk about owling, and you're telling me you didn't know owling?
What the hell is an owling?
Owling is worse than Tebowing.
What is an
How
owling?
far can Kyra zoom out on this camera?
She can zoom all the way out.
Can
Are
she
you gonna
zoom
hit us?
out?
What are you doing?
I'm owling.
Okay. Wait, why were we doing this? What is that?
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
D'Anthony Melton took my boys, my little guys, to the ice cream stand. He was like, I'm going to get ice cream. You want to go with? So he took my little guys to the ice cream stand. So, you know, guess who their favorite player is now? John Morant. But outside of that, you know, D'Anthony Melton's pretty high up on the list. How about this? We got youth small D'Anthony Melton jerseys at our house right now. Love D'Anthony Melton. That was a fun night.
It was a fun night, man.
The Gary Parrish Show, live on weekdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Hey, Grizz Nation, catch the next Michelob Ultra watch party coming up Saturday, December 7th at Owner's Box in Lakeland. Yeah, that's going to be fun when the Grizzlies take on the Boston Celtics, the defending NBA champs. That's coming up tip-off 7 o'clock Saturday, December 7th. And for more information on all the season's watch parties, you can visit grizzlies.com/watch party Saturday, December 7th, Owner's Box in Lakeland. We will see you there for the Grizzlies watch party against the Celtics.
And you know what's cool about that one, Jarvis?
What's up?
I'm going to be hosting that one.
Oh,
that's right
man.
around the corner from my crib.
Oh, that's right.
So I'm going to be
yeah.
out there with all the Grizz
from the
fans
palatial
enjoying
diggings
that
of
watch
Michael
party.
Wallace out there in Lakeland as he gets off the boat, you know, from being out there on the lake. Yeah,
I
that'll
wish
be
I was
fun.
on the lake. I'm not on the lake, man. But what I am on is on top of these NBA storylines, man, as we jump across the league. We talked about Zach Edey working his way back. He did a great workout the other night in Dallas. He's going to have another workout tomorrow before the game, and then hopefully he trends his way back towards being available this coming weekend, according to Taylor Jenkins. Now, speaking of Zach Edey, a couple of big man legends in the NBA had some interesting things to say about Zach, including Shaquille O'Neal and Alonzo Mourning, as they spoke with each other on a podcast recently.
I watched Zach Edey the other day. Yeah. Drop stepping and she's doing a lot of jump hooks. It actually made me feel proud.
We love Zach Edey in our pre-draft workouts. I mean, we were looking at him, man. He had a great pre-draft workout with us, man. And he's one of those guys that's committed to getting better, and I love it. Obviously, he had a great college career, Zach Edey. He plays big, set good screens, roll hard to the basket, try to dominate the paint, be a paint presence, what have you. He ain't standing out there heaving up threes and jumpers and everything. You know, he's going to the rim. I like Zach. I think he's going to have a great career. God willing, he stays healthy. But I like what I see in Zach Edey, for sure.
Man, when you hear Shaquille O'Neal, a Hall of Famer, Alonzo Mourning, a Hall of Famer, first and foremost, man, Alonzo still looks like he talks with intensity.
Yes.
Like he's about to go out there and get 15 rebounds and
Like
6
he got
blocks.
that heat culture still
No
there.
question
he still
about
wants
it,
to
man.
get out there and get it.
But Avery, we'll start with you on that one, man. When you hear two legends, and if you're Zach Edey and you're sitting there listening to Shaq and Zoe talk about what they expect and what they see in you, including the Miami Heat wanting to draft him if the Grizzlies didn't pick him up. If you're Zach, what does that say to you?
I mean, I can only speak from my perspective, but when, you know, Jarvis, Greer, Michael Wallace pat me on the back and tell me I'm doing a good job, I'm like, okay, I must be doing something right. So if I was Zach Edey, I feel great because those are two legends of the game, right? Anytime legends of the game show their pride, show you love, I think the discourse that we get a lot is, you know, all the old heads don't like what the young heads are doing and that we're losing recipes and stuff like that. Shaq is saying, like, no, he's a dog. That's a guy that I want in the trenches with me. And Alonzo Mourning is saying a lot of the same thing. And those are two guys who bang in the paint. Tough guys, you know. So I think if you're Zach Edey, you have to be very appreciative. You have to be very flattered, obviously. As far as Alonzo Mourning goes, I'm sorry, brother, but we need him in Memphis. So I'm going to need you to back off just a little bit. But I think it's great for Zach Edey. It's been great for the Grizzlies. It's been a match made in heaven.
Well, Jarvis, before I wanted to say this too, though. The Miami Heat did go and draft a center. They drafted Kel'el Wells from Indiana.
Yes.
Right. So they certainly were looking at a center in that situation. And had Zach gone where most people projected him, he would have been later on in that first round, right in that Miami area. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he went there and worked out. And had he slipped past Memphis, he might have landed in Miami. But Jarvis, when the legends stamp you like that with that kind of potential, what does that mean for the Grizzlies and what kind of big man they could potentially have?
I think, for Shaquille O'Neal to say the things, the glowing praise he had about the drop step, the jump hook, things that Shaq used to do himself, not so much the jump hook, but the definite drop step. It shows to the work that Zach Edey put in from his freshman year all the way through his senior year at Purdue, where he came in and he was just a big kid. He got better every year. The work ethic is there, and I think that's what both Shaq and Alonzo Mourning see in Zach Edey, that he's going to work for it. He's going to work at it. And I think that just builds more of a fire in Zach Edey if he saw that. I'm sure the Grizzlies, somebody's pumping in that video. Somebody showed it to him. So he was like, oh, man, yeah, get out there. I'm going to go dominate. Dominate that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. That's what he did in college. That's what he can do on this level.
Knowing Zach, he probably saw the clip and was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, we going to shoot around now?
We're in that sweater. We
got
to get him some more clothes, man.
He's feeling it real good, but on his face, he's like, oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Game.
We got to get him some more clothes, though, man. You got to take him out to your haberdasher.
Give him the Carhartt. You got the Carhartt sweater.
Hey, man. Look, he wants to stay comfortable. It's hard to stay comfortable when you're 7'5", man, or 7'4", doing that. One of the lists that Zach didn't make yet, though, was the NBA's top 25, under 25. NBA Dunk Central came out with his list of the NBA's top players who are 25 or under 25. And when you look at the top of that list, Victor Wembanyama is right there. I have no issue with that. Anthony Edwards, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Chet Holmgren are the top 5 that they have under 25. You guys love that list, like that list? Would you guys see and rank it differently in the top 5? What do you guys see from that standpoint, Avery?
I don't see anybody in the top 5 that I would take out of the top 5. I think it's really amazing what the Magic have been able to do, pairing up Paolo and Franz. Having two of the 5 playing for the Magic is really something. I think you look a little further down and you see Jaylen Williams at 9 has been really impressive. He's averaging 21 a game. I think he's been great. I personally love the game of LaMelo Ball. I might throw him in the top 10, but again, I don't know who you sub out necessarily. So the league is in good hands, man. Victor Wembanyama doing what he does on both ends of the floor is incredible. He's averaging 3.5 blocks a game or something like that. Anthony Edwards is Showtime. He's Hollywood. And I think what's going to be funny, I'm sure one of you guys were waiting to say this, but I'm going to say it first. No Grizzlies on this list.
Yeah, man. What up?
They're all 25.
Well, here's the thing.
They got grizzled wisdom.
Yeah, they're all 25.
So it's under 25, yeah. So they just missed the cut right there.
Right.
From that standpoint.
What I'm looking at that, though, is when you got the Rookie of the Month, and he's not on that list, and Jaylen Wells, and has been a solid player all season long. I mean, from Jump Street, he has been a solid player. I love me some Tyrese Maxey, but he's been coming off injury. If you got guys on there like LaMelo Ball and Tyrese, who I like LaMelo's game, I think he's more of a showman than a winner. That's my personal opinion. But if you got guys on there that are coming off injuries, Chet Holmgren's on there, then shoot, Zach Edey, who was balling out before he twisted his ankle and had to sit a few games. How come you don't put him down there at least somewhere down at the bottom? Because he hasn't played a lot. But when he has played lately, he has shown that, look, this dude could be a force in this league. So that's the only thing I have.
They don't have any incoming rookies on that list. That might be the only reason, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see anyone from this past draft that's on this list now. So I think they wanted to see a little bit of experience. But to your point, though, some of these guys hadn't played a lot of time.
Right.
At any rate, I think Tyrese Maxey is a little low.
Yeah,
The
me
way he
too.
plays, I think he can go up a little bit more than that.
Already been an all-star.
I think he can
Yeah.
will.
I mean,
he
if you've already
can
been
will
an
the
all-star,
Sixers.
how are you not in the top 5?
LaMelo Ball should be up there, but his injury history kind of
Yeah, it's been
leaves some
difficult for
questions
him.
from that standpoint.
Same
man.
conversation for Zion.
Yeah.
But Jalen Green, he shouldn't be 20. Like when you talk about talent, this is the Jalen Green from
talent off the
Houston,
chain.
right?
Yeah.
That dude, I mean, he's just a straight baller. I think he has a lot of Anthony Edwards in his game.
You know what?
From that standpoint. So it's a lot of some good talent there. I don't see any like absolute superstars yet. They still have to prove some things other than Victor and Anthony Edwards. But there's a lot of, potentially really, really, really good stars on that list right
Yeah,
there.
I'll say one more thing here.
Yeah.
Number 19, Derek Lively's down there. Under number 16, Zion Williamson. I would flip that. I might even put Derek Lively up a little bit higher than that because he has shown that he can play.
Impact player.
And, like they say, the best ability is availability. That
true.
dude has been available and has shown out. And we saw what he did last night. We saw what he did in the finals.
Yeah.
What a great move it was for Dallas to pick him up in the midseason trade last year.
Yeah,
He can
yeah.
definitely help you win games.
Well, talking about the finals, and this next story is about the path to the finals. The ESPN NBA crew had a discussion about Western Conference and Eastern Conference. Have we moved into an era now where we should set aside conference affiliations and just allow the best teams, the best 16 teams, to make the playoffs? Take a listen, and then we'll discuss.
It's the most imbalanced record West against East since 1950. And so what some of the Western executives are saying is, look, there might be expansion in 2 or 3 years here. When that happens, you're probably going to have 2 teams put into the West, probably Vegas and Seattle.
Yeah.
We don't know, Vegas and Seattle. That will require 1 team to go to the East. And boy, is that going to be a brawl. One of the Mississippi River 3, Minnesota, Memphis, and New Orleans, and that's going to be quite a fight to try to get East if that happens. So they're saying, you know what, let's not have that fight. Let's just get rid of the conferences and seed 1 through 16. Best 16 teams make the playoffs, have a balanced schedule, and forget about this imbalance, which frankly has existed for decades. The West has dominated the East for decades. Now, that's what the West executives want. For any change like that to happen, I have to say you need 23 out of the 30 owner votes.
Right.
Or maybe even 24 out of 32 if there's 2 new owners. Why would even 1 Eastern Conference owner vote for it, much less 8 that you would need? So it is still probably unlikely. However, there is a whispering campaign beginning, of which I am amplifying here when I talk to people in the West.
Now it's a chat, and it's not just a whisper anymore.
When I talk to people in the West, there's 2 things I get complained about. The referees, which, that's annual. And what are we going to do about this West-East thing?
Well, okay, so the Spurs are 8-8, right? If they were in this format, they would be 5th in the Eastern Conference right now. What do you think of this change?
Look, not comparing apples to oranges, but the WNBA has made that change. And the matchups in the playoffs, I think the fans truly appreciate it because you're getting more competitive matchups, whether it's lower or higher seeds.
Yeah, you got Minnesota versus Vegas this year.
And
that
people
would
were
have
like,
been all West.
And some people might have said, oh, we wanted Vegas versus No, but it actually worked out because you got the best matchup when it came to the finals.
Interesting debate. And I will say this before I turn it over to you guys. If you look at the NBA standings right now, as of today, 11 Western Conference teams are 500 or better. Only 6 in the Eastern Conference are 500 or better. So when you look at that and you figure out, okay, look, there's going to be some Western, if this trend holds, and we're only at the quarter pole of the NBA season, if that trend holds, you're going to have some teams in the West that will be outside of that play-in, play-out picture that could have easily made it if they were in the East. Is there a legitimate case to be made in terms of eliminating conferences as it relates only to playoff seeding, Jarvis?
Well, I think as Jeannie Agunke said, in the W they have less teams.
Mm-hmm.
So if you condense that, it makes a little bit more sense. In the NBA, you got 30 teams, and you're going coast to coast, top to bottom. I think with now you have the play-in tournament. If you're good enough to get in, you're going to get in. And I don't see just to have it where it's easy to see and the eye can tell and you can tell who's going to do what and travel and all the rest of that stuff. I just think it's better to have 2 in East and West Conference and do it because with player movement, sometimes you're going to get players go to the East. We got players in the West right now. Sometimes they're going to go to the East, and the East is going to be quote unquote stronger. So, I just think I like it the way it is right now. I don't see changing it, Avery.
I like it the way it is right now. I see the argument, and everybody's got their agenda, right? Of course, the Western Conference executives want it to be, the top 16 seeds because their conference is better and has been better for quite a while. If you look at the East right now, 7 through 11, the Heat are at 9 and 10, the Bulls at 8 are at 9 and 13, the Pacers are 9 at 9 and 13, the Nets are at 9 and 13, and then the Pistons are at 9 and 14. So you're telling me any of those teams that get into a play-in scenario, you might potentially have, if they started today, you'd have a team at 7 and 8 that are under 500. And quite honestly, it's not exaggerating to say that could be the case when you get down into April and May. So some of those teams have been bad for a long time. And if I'm the Timberwolves sitting at 10 and 10 in the West right now, and I'm looking at the East, I'm like, y'all dudes not ready for y'all not ready for a playoff scenario. And I see the argument. I wouldn't hate it if they did it. I don't know.
I just think that if you look at it historically, the teams at the bottom, there may be 2 teams that from the East that would get in and cut 2 teams out of the West, but that's about it. The rest of them, they're all fairly equal if going ahead. So I don't think it would be worth it.
Those 1-8 matchups are slaughterfest in a lot of cases, and I wouldn't be mad at eliminating that.
I mean,
that's me.
And so this is a league under Adam Silver, and he's progressive in his mindset. He's trying desperately to change the All-Star format.
Came from,
The Emirates Cup. I mean, these are all innovative ideas that they're saying, let's throw tradition aside.
David Stern's rolling in his grave right now.
if it was for the betterment of competition. And to Jarvis's point, though, if the East is stacked one year and the West is weak, then you're still getting the best 16 teams.
Correct.
Right? So you can eliminate the conference affiliation if that's the case. You're just going to take 12 from the East in that case and 6 from the West or whatever. You know what I mean? In terms of, or 4 from the West to get to 16. So the other thing, though, is that my situation is like this, man. The play-in is working because that at least keeps big market teams that aren't doing well in the regular season.
Keeps it interesting.
It keeps it. You get Chicago in there. You got Golden State and the Lakers in the play-in last year. So that's going to be a success. That's been a success. But I am open-minded enough to say, okay, in a year like this, if this trend holds, I don't know if I want to see Chicago and a struggling all these teams in the East make the playoffs because I don't think that makes the East stronger when it's time to play the NBA Finals. Although Boston showed that they can be.
Boston's won it.
But their path to it won't be as treacherous as Oklahoma City or Denver or any of the past champions that have made it. So that's a great debate, man. So we'll continue to monitor that and see how the standings hold. And speaking of the standings, our GrizzBeat Power Poll, I'll put it together. I won't put it on any of the guests or Jarvis or anybody else. This is my opinion, but I want these guys to chime in on where we are.
You gotta be kidding me.
The Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Boston Celtics this past week.
Revenge game.
In the revenge game to reclaim the top spot right there. Those are still the top 2 teams in the way I see it. Man, the Rockets are the biggest surprise in the league right now.
Sure are. Wow.
Last month, that was the Golden State Warriors. Now the Rockets are shooting up the charts right there. They just beat Oklahoma City as well, too. The Mavericks got the win over the Grizzlies. That was going to be inverted had the Grizzlies won that game. The Magic have been strong as Paolo Banchero works his way back. The Clippers have held steady, doing some good things. And now the Warriors have lost 5 straight, and the Knicks are right there at 10. How do you guys see it? Did I leave out anybody? Do you have any gripes? Do you have any agreements on that top 10, Jarvis?
Oh, I think Sacramento played their way out of your list.
Yeah.
Because they've lost, 6 or 7 now?
6 or 7, yeah.
And they haven't really looked good doing it. I agree with the inverting on the Mavs and the Grizz. But they are 2 pretty even teams. That was a playoff atmosphere down in Dallas last night. The Grizz showed well. It was self-inflicted, the L. Cavaliers, I don't know what else you can say about them. They got beat. Boston ended their, what were they, 13-0, 14-0, 15-0, I think. And then Boston beat them, and then they came back and beat the Celtics. The Rockets are the surprise of, I don't think anybody had the Rockets this deep into the season. And I know we're just starting December, but nobody had them, winning, being 15-7 at this point. So, no, I pretty much agree with everything you say there. I'm not a Thunder fan, SGA, Student Government Association, all that stuff. But, and I think you got to take a look out for the Clippers. As hurt as they have been, they're still in there doing it. So I think you got to watch. Of course, I picked the Clippers last year, and they didn't really come through for me because I think injuries ended up doing them in. But they are just the scariest team to me.
Yeah, the Rockets, they did something similar to this last year, where they were
hot early.
They were hot early, and
Yeah.
they kind of fizzled out. So you
and
wonder,
they got hot late too.
right?
But then
And
they
made some headaches for some teams down the stretch.
Yeah, they
So
made
you
up
wonder
some ground.
how well they continue to play. Shout out to Ime Udoka out there. He's been coaching those guys up really well. The Cavaliers have been, to me, the most impressive team. I wouldn't say they're the biggest shock. I think the Rockets probably are the biggest shock, but the Cavaliers have really impressed me. Two of those losses are from my Atlanta Hawks, by the way. Well, just shameless plug there, even though they're not having the best season. But yeah, the Mavericks and the Grizzlies, I mean, we talked about it earlier. It felt like a 4-5 matchup in the maybe the first round of the playoffs. And I think that's pretty well reflected. The Magic, losing Paolo Banchero, you thought it was a death sentence.
Yeah,
and
it was initially.
It was initially. They were very slow.
They were shocked.
When he first had picked up his injury with that torn oblique. But Franz Wagner he's been all-star level good in the early part of the season. So they've been great. And then, the 8, 9, and 10 spots, I feel like those just they're going to be in constant shuffle mode. So who knows who will be in those spots towards the end of the season.
Yeah. So we won't be in shuffle mode, though. As we come back, we'll wrap up this week's GrizzBeat with one more segment, and you'll see my sit-down with Marcus Smart as he talks about defense, determination, and leadership and sacrifice. All of those things are embodying what he's bringing to the table this season when we come back on GrizzBeat.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering, to those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Grizzlies fans, dunks, dimes, and no-looks are great on TV, but nothing compares to catching them IRL. And that starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight in person. From seeing your favorite Grizzly stars up close to hearing the squeak of the sneakers on the hardwood. Put that jersey collection to use and get tickets at Ticketmaster. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside, Memphis.
We didn't talk about owling, and you're telling me you didn't know owling?
What the hell is an owling?
Owling is worse than Tebowing.
What is an
How
owling?
far can Kyra zoom out on this camera?
She can zoom all the way out.
Can
Are
she
you gonna
zoom
hit us with
out?
that? What are you doing?
I'm owling.
Okay. Wait, why were we doing this? What is that?
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
It's the top 5 worst teams in the NFL. I think the Panthers are the worst team in the NFL.
I got the Saints number 1. Ha ha ha! Let's put the Aints up there. They're terrible.
I'll take the Titans as my worst team in the NFL. If they played Will Levis, they're for sure the worst team. Maybe in NFL history. Might be worse than the 0-16 Lions if they play Will Levis.
The Odds Couple, live at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Hey, Grizz fans, look at this. We've made our list. We checked it twice. Naughty and nice, yeah, and stashed all the best Grizz holiday deals in one place. Introducing the 2024-25 Grizzlies Holiday Gift Guide, a one-stop shop for everyone on your list. Tip off your holiday shopping with the merriest Grizzlies deals in Memphis. You know where to go. You go to grizzlies.com/gift guide. All right, time to take a quick look now at the week ahead for the Memphis Grizzlies. Going to be a busy week here. A couple of games at FedEx Forum, a couple on the road. Of course, the big game coming up Thursday. Tomorrow night, the Sacramento Kings are in town with DeMar DeRozan, and it's going to be a big one here. See if the Grizzlies can dust off that L and try to get back on a winning streak. Then it's at the defending NBA champion Boston Celtics. That's going to be a big one. It's a Saturday 8 p.m. game. 8 p.m. game. Remember, we got the watch party for that one out in Lakeland. You want to go go out there, go out to Michael Wallace's house, and he'll definitely welcome you. Now, where is that, Michael? It's at the
it's at the owner's box.
It's at owner's box in Lakeland. Yeah, you want to get to the watch party for that one. And then at the Washington Wizards, that is a game on Sunday at 7 o'clock. So a back-to-back for Memphis between Boston and Washington. Not that long of a trip. Hopefully the Grizzlies can come out with a 3-0 week. What do you think? Get it done, right?
Absolutely. I mean, after they won those 6 in a row, you were looking at this next stretch and you were saying, okay, these are teams that you really want to use as a measuring stick for where you really are in the league right now. Those 6 games were, to me, on the win streak were, hey, these are games good teams are supposed to win. You take care of the games you're supposed to win. Going up against Boston, going up against Sacramento, a team that we think is going to be in the playoff hunt, even though they're not doing so well right now, those are teams that those wins against those teams tell me, okay, this is a team that is going to be a serious contender for a championship.
No question about that. And all I'll add to that is that the Grizzlies still have a winning streak going right now. They've won 5 straight at home, right? So the 6-game losing streak ended in Dallas, but they still won their last 5 games at FedEx Forum. So tomorrow night's game is going to be key to keep that continuity going at home. That's what you want to establish long term. And you'll take your chances at Boston. See where you are when you match up with them. Try to get that win, split that road trip, get a win in Washington because they're really struggling with the league's worst record. And then you come back here and reset.
That loses to Washington.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you might get Zach Edey back for the Boston game, and if not Boston, almost for sure at Washington. So a lot to look forward to the Grizzlies this week. Now the Grizzlies have done a good job, and as we said, their second-round picks with Cam Spencer and Jaylen Wells doing what they've been doing lately. But they also made a big move to bring in Marcus Smart from those Boston Celtics to try to help shore up the veteran leadership with the Grizzlies. And Michael Wallace sat down with Marcus Smart on the road and talked to him about what he brings to the Grizzlies.
You guys have obviously put a lot of emphasis on the offense, but to still be one of the top 6 teams, well, the only team in the NBA ranked top 6 in both offense and defensive efficiency, how important is that to not lose principles on defense while you guys are still instituting this offense?
It's a big key for us. We all know defense wins a lot of games for us, especially when your offense, isn't popping. And we're going to have nights where our offense isn't popping, but defense can save you. And, when you're able to do that, it makes the teams hard playing you because they know not only are they going to push the pace and most likely score on us, but they're also going to come down and get a stop as well. And it's going to make it very hard for us to score. So that was a big key for us, and we just want to keep it going.
6 straight wins for the Grizzlies, best stretch of play that we've had this season. And the way that you've played and contributed has been a big key in that you play some of your best games during this winning streak. What's been different about this stretch over the last couple of weeks for you as you got back to physically getting past the injury and also that illness? I mean, how important was that for you to get back to your feet?
It was big for me. I feel like a lot of people kind of forgot who I was and what I bring to the game. So,
man, ain't nobody forget. It was just 2 years ago.
You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised. So, just want to continue to remind people. You know what I'm saying? I can still do this. And I am going to still do it. So it's big for me to be able to start playing well, get my feet back under me. The injuries and things like that, and get back going.
Taylor Jenkins has said repeatedly, game after game, that your buy-in, your leadership, your professionalism has been key. Because if you can do it, everybody else on this roster can also do it as well too. Talk about that level of sacrifice. Regardless of coming off the bench or starting, you're finishing games, but you're still making sacrifices for the team as well.
Yeah, it's not easy. Anybody will tell you, especially when you've earned the respect and you've done all the dues and paid all your dues in the league that you were supposed to pay and continue to pay. It's definitely hard to make that sacrifice because, you put in the work and you think you deserve to be there. And not only do you think you deserve it, you've earned it. And to be able to get told, hey, you're going to have to make this sacrifice, it's a tough, but at the end of the day, we're about winning, and that's the main goal is to win. So, whatever I have to do to help this team win is what I'm going to do.
And you've always done that, right? This just didn't start in Memphis. It started in Boston as well, too. And I wanted to ask you about that. You've been a big brother to a lot of guys, right, in this league. How has that big brother sort of mentor role changed from Memphis to Boston to Memphis in terms of how you interact with certain guys that are younger than you and you're seeing them come into their own?
Obviously here in Memphis we have a lot of more younger guys than we did in Boston. Boston was a lot more experienced guys, kind of how this group is. They grew up together. They've been through battles. That's how it was for me in Boston with those guys. And to come here and, you're trying to find where you fit in without stepping on any toes. Also, trying to encourage those guys to keep doing what they're doing.
and, you know, just try to give whatever you have learned from your experience and everything, the battles you've been through, to help those guys shape out to understanding that where y'all trying to get to, you know, I haven't won it all the way, but I've been. And, you know, this is some things that I feel like, you know, from my experience that can help us.
And lastly, we'll get you out of here on this one. This is a big week. Obviously, the Grizzlies are riding that 6-game winning streak. This week, you guys play the defending Western Conference champion Dallas Mavericks tonight, and then you get the defending NBA champions Boston later on this week. I know there's a game in between there, but how much is this week sort of a litmus test for the progress that you guys have made this season?
It's going to be a huge test for us. Like you said, you playing against the top 2 teams from last year who made it to where we're trying to go, and one ultimately won it. So, you know, to be able to go up against those guys and kind of see where we're at is going to be big for us. And, you know, hopefully we can come out with these wins.
All right, that was Marcus Smart talking about his role with the Grizzlies. Got a chance to meet Boston in a Grizzlies uniform for the first time. Didn't play last year because he had that hurt finger, so hopefully he'll be on point for the Grizzlies. And speaking about being on point, got the fade looking good. Avery Braxton, ABC 24, we appreciate you coming in here as always.
Anytime I can come in with the sensei, I'm happy to be on. Appreciate you guys having me on. Make sure you check out our show as well, the 24th Floor, on the 24 Plus app for ABC 24. We've been doing that a couple of months. My guys, Rachel Phillips and Caleb Hilliard, so I know they missed me, so I got to get back to them. But I appreciate you guys having me on for sure.
Very good. Get that plug in as Sensei OG.
Sensei OG, my fault.
And, of course, the great Michael Wallace, the guru of Grind City Media. Will you be on the call this weekend on a couple of games?
No, I won't be on the call this weekend, but we'll definitely have all of everything covered on Grind City Media. Our warm-up show, make sure you check that out an hour before tip-off of every home game. I'm looking forward to joining Lang Whitaker on that at 6 o'clock tomorrow, so check us out on that.
All right, Grizz got Sacramento coming up tomorrow night. You want to be here at FedEx Forum, 7 o'clock tip, and we will see you next week right here, 2 o'clock on GrizzBeat. We'll see you then.
Perfect.
That's game. Thanks for running with us for another episode of GrizzBeat. Join us each Wednesday at Grind City Media for all the latest insight and analysis on the Grizzlies.